just celebrate this God of ours and what you just experienced in this place today. Um, and also say hi to our online church today. We have about 60 people hanging out with us online from somewhere today. We're so thankful for that. Listen, I just feel the need to say I was trying so hard, Kelly, to get your attention because I totally wanted to bust in there for a minute. I feel like there's some breaking that needs to happen in here today. Like, am I wrong about this? Like, somebody needs to just let go. I don't know. I know that there are a lot of stories that are happening and that are working in our church right now, whether you're in this house or whether you're at your own house or whether you're just not here at all, that person that's not here. But there's some serious breaking that needs to take place in here today. And can I just give you the permission to just break? Sometimes I feel like we need to have that permission, that it's okay to just let it go, that it's okay to just let things break. I mean, you feel so often like you have to be strong and tough, and that you have to hold it together, even though that you see the uncertainties and the whatever it is that's in front of you, and you've got to keep that strong, united front, and, I've got what it takes to get through this, and I don't know about you, but I get always mindful of the verse in Ephesians that says God is strong and he wants you strong, and so I have to feel like I have to take on that toughness mentality and be resistant to breaking, because in some way, shape, or form, I should be able to get through this. Make sense? Does anybody else face that battle too? We fight this tension that somehow I've got to maintain composure and it's got to be okay. Can I just give you the freedom to just let it break today? Can you just let it shatter? Like, whatever it is that's in your world that you're just so trying hard to hold together, just let it break. If there's any place that it's okay to be broken, can we agree that this could be the place? Man, just let it break. I don't know who that's for today, but I know that there are so many stories that are happening in our church today. There's a lot of fear that happens in our culture, in our world today. Are you aware of the fear and culture that happens in our world today? Good Lord, people are panic over this whole virus thing that's happening, and there's that tension that we wear. And I know that there would be people who would be like, oh, that's not a big deal, but it might not be a fear of yours, but it's a fear of someone's. I talked to somebody this week that told me there was this week a massive response in suicidal attempt as a result of Kobe Bryant's death last Sunday. And I would never have thought of that. I would never have put that together, but people take that so personal. And they think it's, they look at this and it's the end of the world, And there's just this news everywhere. I was talking to somebody else this morning, and there's 3 key words that you can't say right now or the stock market crashes: impeachment, China, and coronavirus. I mean, it happens there. You watch it. It's terrible. It is tremendous. And so those things might not matter to any of you, but it's a key indicator that there is something breaking in our world today. Listen, I don't know what it's going to be to infiltrate hope into your heart and into your life, but that's why we're here, and that's why I hope that you found what you came looking for today. I want to start right where I started last Sunday. What were you expecting when you walked into church today? What were you expecting? Were you expecting to be out of here in 10 minutes? Because it's not going to happen. What were you expecting? Were you expecting a nice package service with, articulated songs that only went 5 minutes? And that your kids are well cared for, and that they're going to get a cookie, but they won't because we don't do kids point food because there's too many allergies right now. What were you expecting when you walked into church? Because I hope that your expectation was shattered and you got something different and you got something that you needed today. You got something that was more well-crafted than what we could think and put together. Because listen, our prayerful preparation and determination is, God, just do what you want to do today, and we'll yield to your direction. And that's what we do. And so I hope that's what you found. And I hope that that's okay for what you think church should be and what it should be about. But you don't have any response, so let it go. Thanks, man. Have you ever got caught in school? You take some classes, or you were in school. Have you ever got caught plagiarizing? You have? Anybody else other than our fearless worship leader? She got away with it, right? Anybody else that would attest to that fact? Did you get caught plagiarizing? I see some nods, so I want some more than that. Raise it up, man. Hold it. Anybody? I never have. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but this week, isn't it so like you have a project, you got something to put together, you got something to write, you got whatever, but isn't it so much easier just to copy what somebody else did and just roll with it? I mean, that's the nature of plagiarism. It even happens in like church world, sermon work. I mean, we plagiarize sermons all the time, right? Yeah. I haven't done that in a long time. We call it benchmarking in church, but this week my little girl had a project due at her class, and so she was all stressed about it, and it was really kind of funny because the night before this, Thursday night, we had done a little family devotion together. We've been trying to do those a little bit more frequently, and in this family devotion, we were talking about Adam and Eve and the choice that they made, and so then we just put that into our real world scenario, and we talked about choices that we make as people, and so we talked about what choices are our kids facing in their world today, and one of the examples in the book was like you have the choice to be honorable in your homework, and something that you're stressed about or whatever. And the specific example was a book report. Little did we know that Taylor has a book report due Friday that she never told us about, and she's all stressed about it. I mean, she went to bed. She woke up the next day and just a tearful. I mean, she wakes up and she just bursts into tears. We're like, what is wrong with you? And she's all stressed about this report. Well, Mama and her sat down and they began to just quickly work on this and just to take the edge off. It wasn't something that needed to be done. It was just like a rough draft. And so she's learning how that all works and all this stuff. And so she's sitting down and she's writing some of this report, and Crystal was just graciously walking her through some of this stuff. And in the middle of this, Crystal comes back to check on her, and she was literally just copying right what she was seeing. And Crystal's like, no, you can't do that. That's not the way this works. You have to read the information, understand it, and put it in your own words. You got to copy it without copying the words. And so she's learning how this all works. And obviously this is going to be a long time that we go, but and thus brings us to our series that we're going to do for the next 4 weeks. We're going to talk about how to copy. We're going to talk about how the Lord gives us a command to copy. I use this all the time. I mean, for me, when I thought of this idea and this series and this creative concept that we came up with, man, you use those are the two keystrokes I use most often in my world. Is I copy everything. Just command copy, man. That's what I do. Put it on paper. In fact, one of the things I had to, my assistant who helps me out a lot now, one of the things I do is I take scripture that I'm going to use, like John 15 we're going to work on today, and I told her, I was like, I want you to put John 15, 3 different translations on a piece of paper, like big piece of paper that I can do all my notes, and that's how I work. And so she's like, I have to type all that out? I'm like, no, you command copy. Copy it. Put it on paper. And this is how this works. And the idea is that the Lord has this very specific command that he gives us, and he just wants us to copy, just straight up plagiarize. He gives us the freedom to do exactly what he tells us to do. This idea that we're going to talk about today covers like a whole bunch of scripture, and I'm not going to get to it all, but in John chapter 17, he begins this chapter with, Father, the hour has come, glorify your Son so that he can give glory back to you. And then in John 17, if you haven't read it, you should read it today. You should honestly read John 15, 16, and 17 today before the Super Bowl. Can you do that? Or even during, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I know we have one 49ers fan here, right? There it is. Any others? Any Chiefs fans? Chiefs fans? No? Okay, good. One. We got one. Okay. Are you an actual fan or just like because they're in the Super Bowl today? Okay, I get it. Just because they're in the Super Bowl. That's Benji, for those of you who know. Right? John chapter 17 is this amazing prayer that Jesus prays on your behalf. Did you know that? Like he has this incredible prayer that he prays for you. And it is so amazing. And I just want to give that to you and just let you read through it today. In John chapter 16, just before this, he simply opens with this idea of, I've told you these things so that you won't abandon your faith. He's concerned about his disciples. This is his last conversation, one of the final moments that he's going to have with his disciples before he walks into this pending death. And he's like, I've told you these whole things that we've just covered in John chapter 15 so that you won't abandon, you won't give up your faith, knowing that before this day ends, all of them are going to scatter. All of them are going to be like, I'm out, dude. This is way too intense for me. This is well beyond the level of expectation I thought you had or the commitment level that I wanted to give, and so I'm out. And I mean, you all know Peter's like, passionate, please, like I'm not gonna leave you, even if it's to the death. I'm gonna follow you. And Jesus is like, you know what, dude? Before morning tomorrow, you're gonna abandon me 3 times. You're gonna deny me 3 times. And you all know that story. So in John chapter 15, we come to one of the most influential passages of Scripture that you can encounter in the Bible. We've talked about this quite a bit before. In fact, I was thinking about this week, and we did a series called What's in It for Me in October 2018, where we really investigated John 15 with a lot of detail, and we're not even going to get close to it today. In fact, we're just going to cover 2 words, but think about, or 2 verses, but think about like this is essentially the last words that Jesus is going to speak to his people, to his 12, his core. This is it. These are the most influential words that he can give them. I mean, he's had to have thought about this for a long time. He's coming to this point right now where it's like, what am I going to tell them? What am I going to leave them with? This is what they're going to remember most. What do you think about that? When you think about the concept of final words, what do you think of? Clearly, we think of like funeral, death. We think of the last words that somebody's going to speak to somebody else. And I just, there is that concept clearly, but you don't know when you're going to die. What if you just try to kind of change the way you think and started reacting with, I want, instead of them to remember my last words, I want them to remember my lifetime, and start like investing like rich words into your people all the time? I mean, wouldn't that be like impactful and meaningful and hope-filled? Like, I remember this person, this was their personality, and they would use these words instead of, they hated me, tolerated me, whatever, and then they had this really good thing to say right before they died. Like, let's just live in that zone, in that element of positivity. Can I just tell you something profound about this series? Anybody? I struggled with this one a lot because the concept of this series is all about love. And I'll be honest with you, when I sat down and I started reading through this, I was like, I don't even want to come. It just seemed a little boring to me. And especially because, like, I was thinking about this being like, gun capital of America, Franklin County right here. Every one of you is like, almost every one of you is some devout hunter. And we got like these hardened core farmers in the mix here. And I'm supposed to preach 4 weeks about love. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't connect. I started thinking about this from like, I felt like I needed to put like a man spin on this so that it could connect with every man. Because the reality is, we start using feely terms and affectionate, and we start talking about love, and every man's like, this is Super Bowl Sunday, and this is the best you've got. You know what I mean? Like, the reality is that you and I, we need this, but we need it in a way that we can grasp it and understand it. So honestly, the first image that came to my mind over this idea about copying that is a military funeral. I've seen I connect mostly with this with movies because I'm a movie buff, but the movie American Sniper, you all seen the movie American Sniper? I'm sorry, I cannot advocate that on stage from a church today, but it's a really good movie. And I tell you what, I as I was thinking about this and just preparing for this message, and just thinking about the last part of that movie where they actually they show his actual funeral, I just lose it every time. It just destroys me from the concept of like this brotherhood there's just no way they cannot show love and affection to a fallen man. Does that make sense? Like, you can't tell me that a man is not capable of love when it comes to that. And I want you to get that imagery in your mind as we kind of process and think through this concept My struggle is that we have so softened the truth of Christ down to like a warm fuzzy that it becomes too comfortable to consider. That's not who Jesus was. That's not who this man was. The reality of what Jesus did for us on that cross was the toughest, manliest element of relationship that you could ever imagine. And because of that, he had every right to claim to be able to talk to us about the concept of being excessively loving. Make sense? Like he proved it to us and talked about it at the same time. This is who you are supposed to be, and let me show you how. Right? And that's exactly what he did. He said this in John chapter 15, verse 11. He said, I have told you these things so that you can be filled with joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. And can we all agree that we'll take some of that? Do you want to be filled with joy? Oh my gosh, for real? I'm not feeling it. Do you want to be filled with joy? Because the only way that it comes, joy and love go hand in hand. They are partners together. The more that you become loving, the more joy-filled your life becomes. And both of those are traits of God himself. You cannot be loving, you cannot be filled with joy apart from God. Can we agree with that? Like you can have semblances of joy. We've talked about this just recently, about how, I asked you specifically a question, can a person who doesn't know Jesus at all, can they have joy? They can have pieces of it because they can be parents, right? And being parent is... You're dealing with a created human being that came directly from God. So yeah, there's joy involved with that. But the overflowing elements of joy come only through Christ. And so that's free. But in the next verse number 12, he says this. He says, this is my command. In other words, this is what I want you to copy. I want you to say, copy that. That was half-hearted. Say, copy that. This is what he tells us to copy. He says, love each other in the same way, in the same manner that I have loved you. Just like I have shown you in the way that I've demonstrated or I've depicted. Copy this. Do everything in the same manner that I've done. He gave us an example. He didn't give us like, do exactly these things. He gave us like a standard, a benchmark. And then he said, go and get creative with the way that you do this yourself. But copy it. Honestly, the reality is that this is tough. And he goes on to say this, there's no greater love than to lay one's life down for his friends. And then he changes, he quantifies it. He says, you are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends. Since I've told you everything that the Father has told me, he's changing their relationship. Up to this point, they were just like followers. They were just like lost puppy dogs, walking along with Jesus, hoping to catch something. And eventually, the thing changed where he began to hand them responsibility and ownership and authority to be able to go and do these things. And then we get to John chapter 15 where they're in this garden, they're at the Passover, they're eating this dinner together. They're going to walk out from here, they're going to go to the garden, they're going to watch Jesus become super filled with grief and emotional, sweat drops of blood over them and over the responsibility that he has for the entire world. The entire human race at that point. This is heavy for him. And he changes it to be like, you're not just followers of mine. No, you are friends. It's not the fact that that I'm in front of you and you're following. No, we're shoulder to shoulder now. We are a brotherhood. And not only is he saying like, only a person who's about to lay down his life for his friends can he say that. Greater love has no man than this, and a man lay his life down for his friends. And watch me do it. I mean, this is super profound and intense. This is the relationship of deepest affection that doesn't come with any other way. Do you have people that you're deeply connected to? Do you? Okay, so we instantly think in terms of those that sit right next to us, our friends, our family. Our family and our kids and those closest relationships. But think beyond that. Think to extend this out a circle or two. Who are these people that you are deeply connected to? Are there people there? Because I believe that what Jesus is establishing here is it's a given for you to have this connection with people that you love the most, that you can tolerate the most. But he's changing the game here. He's really taken this up a level and saying, this is not just about the ones that you can tolerate. This is about humanity. This is where Jesus is living in this zone. He's thinking conceptually worldwide. Nobody gets left out of this. And for us, it's just like, those people that I can tolerate, my refrigerator friends, who I let come in my house and they can get in my fridge anytime they want. You know what I'm saying? Do you take that privilege with just anybody? You do? She's a global thinker over here. There takes something different. It takes a little bit of something to be able to grant that permission. Jesus is granting that permission to them. We are closest friends. And he hands us to all that. And then not only does he just invite everybody into that, but he takes it up a level and says, I want you to copy this. I want you to, take all the crazy inventive ideas out of it and just copy what I do. Copy the way that I'm loving. In verse number 16, John chapter 15, he says, you didn't choose me, but I chose you. And I appointed you to go and to produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask using my name. This is my command. And he repeats this. He says, love each other. John 15:16, that's my like life verse. That's the one that I believe that the Lord used to like call me into ministry. And I've never let that go. Like that's just mine. But what I want you to see out of there is how many times he uses the word choose. I chose you. You didn't choose me. I chose you. You were chosen. You were handpicked. One of my favorite thoughts, one of my favorite ideas is, and one of the rumors of the lies that I want to dispel. Can I just step back for just a minute and just tell you this? As I was thinking about this during our worship set this morning was the reason why we do worship the way that we do and with the profound effect that we have is because it needs to replace the lies that you've believed all week. Do you get that thought? Do you understand that? You are lied to all week long. And you begin to believe this, and I listen to some people's lies. They come into my office and they articulate the lies that they're believing. And it's destroying your life. And our goal is to come into a space where you can allow the Spirit of God to speak truth into your heart and into your life. And you can't hear it in any other way. And sometimes that takes a lot more time than you think it does. You need to start understanding and believing the truth. The truth is that God looked at you and said, you're worth it, and I choose you, and I love you, and I like you too. And let's just again redispel the rumor or the lie that God bought you on clearance. He walked into the dollar store and picked you off the discount section. No way, he paid full price. Chose you, handpicked. I feel like I can't identify or talk about this idea of love without Philippians 2, 3, and 4, which we're going to get to again. Philippians 2, 3, and 4. He says, Paul says this. He says, don't be selfish. Say that. Say, don't be selfish. Don't be selfish. Now, this is trouble for me because I look at that and be like, it's like you're telling a fish not to be wet. Let that sink in for a minute. That's the best joke I came up with. Don't be selfish. Do you think it's ironic that, like, Paul chose that language? Because I'll be honest with you, every one of us deals with that. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others, but be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out for your own interest, but take an interest in others also. I think I've dabbled in this the last 3 weeks, but this is like the core of my pre-marriage counseling right here. This is what we talk about. This is why so many marriages break, is because we're in it for ourselves. This is why we struggle with humanity, because we are selfish. I mean, this is a super practical, applicable principle. Don't be selfish, just be loving. 1 John 4, can I give you a challenge? Will you take a challenge? I don't know what like should be on the flip side of this challenge, but I want to challenge you to memorize 1 John 4. No takers. Do it. I don't care what translation you do it from. It will change you. Check this out. 1 John 4, this is what, I don't even know what verse this is. God showed how much he loved us by sending his one and only Son into the world so that we might have eternal life through him. Listen to this. This is real love. The next verse, this is real love. And then John quantifies it. Not that we have loved God. Do you get that? This is real love, and it's not from you. But that he loved us and sent his son as a sacrifice to take away our sins. Dear friends, since God loved us that much, we surely ought to love each other. That's a given. Do you understand this, though? That this real love is not about you or from you. It's that God himself sent his son to die for you, and that is love. It's love manifest. Do you understand? Let's just shatter some assumptions here. Without the example of Jesus and the creation of God, do you understand that there would be no love? Do you understand that? That Jesus himself is the manifestation of love on earth, and without Jesus, we have no love. It's gone. Your life is void of love without God in it. It's gone. You can fight that. You can pretend that it's not true. But the reality is this. If you actually read through the Bible and you read through the description of what's coming at the end time, it's a world that is void of all love. Why? Because God is no longer here. He removes himself. You can see this. For a period of 7 years, he's gone, and he lets our adversary rule the earth. And it only takes 7 years for total destruction because there is no more love. You get that? Read it. Check it out. The absence of God is the absence of anything loving, regardless of your identity with Jesus in salvation or not. If you love, then you too wear a mark of the Creator. This is the same thing as joy. You can dabble in joy, but you can't have the true thing until you have a relationship with Christ. I love this thought right here. This is a take-homeable. Love is a tattoo placed on your life because you were created. And Satan's most devout tactic is the removal of that tattoo. He wants to get rid of it from your life. We know how much God loves us, and we put our trust in his love. God is love, and all who live in love live in God, and God lives in him. Check this out. This is verse 19, I believe. 1 John chapter 4. Such love has no fear, because perfect love expels all fear. Have you ever told somebody that before and just kind of not knew where that came from? Love casts out fear. That's it right there. Love casts out fear. I told somebody that just recently, and it was like a light bulb went on. I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to deal with the fear of my, no, you have love. You have a relationship with Jesus. Perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment, and this shows that we have not fully experienced his perfect love. We love each other because he first loved us. And so I just got to ask, have you fully experienced his love? Have you fully experienced it? Are you confident in it today? Are you confident that no matter what is happening in your world, in your life, the fear that surrounds you, that you are safe because you are loved? This is point of decision for you, and I want to just give you a moment to bow your heads and close your eyes and just do business with God. Talk to him, engage with him. But I need you to answer that question. Have you fully experienced his love? Because if you haven't, you should not leave this place today without stepping into it. This is who our God is, and this is why he came. He came to die on a cross to demonstrate perfect love for you. And I think maybe this is where, look, we step into that idea of what I talked about at the beginning, just let it break. Because you believe so often that we can perfect our lives in, alongside of Jesus rather than just letting him do all the work. Can you just let him do the work today? Can you just let him do the work in your life? It would just be the simple acknowledgement that I am broken and I need Jesus to fix me. I need this perfect love. This is a simple statement for you. For those of you who have never experienced this before, this is an acknowledgement, and it's an aha moment. God, I need this in my life. I need you to fill this void. I need you to fill this gap. Lord, I accept your gift. What is this gift that we're talking about? It's a gift of salvation. It's that Jesus died on a cross And you're acknowledging that. I believe that you died. I believe that you rose again. I believe that I need that. It was a gift. He did this for you. If that's you, if that's your story, don't wait. Stop dragging your feet on this and make the decision. God, I need you today. Lord, I just pray over this church right now. Lord, as we come to this reality, as we come to this conclusion, to understand, Lord, that you alone are loving, and that it's because of you that we get to love in our lives. God, I pray that you would just help us to be able to take this idea, copy that, and just take this mission that you've given us and just be able to use it. Lord, I pray for that person, those people that are in here, that are on our online campus today, Lord, that you would just bless and work in their hearts and in their lives to be able to receive, Lord, this gift of love that you've given to us. Lord, we thank you so much for who you are and for what you're going to continue to do in this place today. In Jesus' name.